Welcome along to Aomi Urban Sports Park on day one of the men's football five-a-side event. And a hot day, our time in Tokyo, as you can see. A Group B opener between Argentina and Morocco. Football five-a-side is one of three sports on the Paralympic programme exclusively for athletes with visual impairments. And fair to say too, one of the most popular events overall. Argentina very much the favourites for this encounter, given that they have managed to finish in the top four at the last four Paralympic Games in men's football five-a-side. Morocco will be firm challengers, however, because they are the champions of Africa and a dominant force in their own continent. There was a shock in Group A on this, the opening day of this event, with Japan getting off to a great start, beating France by 4-0. So it wouldn't be a massive surprise if Argentina were put under some pressure at the very least by their African rivals. Included in their lineup, the Argentine legend Froilan Padilla, the oldest player in the two teams' starting fives, aged 42. Federico Accardi, one of the four outfield players too, alongside Padilla. And that man, Max Espinillo, a real threat. He is somebody Morocco will need to play close attention to throughout the two 20-minute halves. The options for Argentina in terms of replacements, including one of their two goalkeepers, Herman Mulek. In football five-a-side, the four outfield players are not sighted, and they all have to wear eye shades for fairness. The goalkeepers, however, including Samir Barra in the yellow jersey, can be sighted and act as one of three guides for each side. Imed Berka is the Moroccan captain, and very much looking forward to this one, as we can see, against their rivals from South America. Sneesler, the attacking threat for Morocco. Both teams appear to be beginning with two defensively orientated players and a midfielder, and then Sneesler and Espinillo, the intended threats in attack, as we see the options on the bench for Morocco. Each team can make up to 6 substitutions per half, as we see the officials from 3 different continents. So the first period will last 20 minutes in total, and the clock counts down, with the clock stopped when the ball is out of possession, although the sideboards do help to ensure that the clock doesn't really need to be stopped all that much, as the players can play off the boards at the side.
Libertad, libertad. Las provincias unidas, libres del mundo responde al pueblo argentino salud, al gran pueblo argentino salud.
They are up for it. The national anthem of Argentina, now that of Morocco. The vociferous North Africans were also very much looking forward to getting their football campaign underway. Quite close, actually, to the athletes' village here in Tokyo. The two captains, Deldo Garcia and Burka, will do the coin toss to decide who will kick off, and then we will have a very quick equipment check.
Green or blue?
Okay. Thank you.
And it would probably make sense if Argentina were blue and Morocco were green.
Green.
And yes, Burka, no hesitation in asking for green.
You have the ball. Good luck.
So Morocco will kick off, and Argentina have opted to choose end after winning the coin toss.
Thank you.
Morocco were the first African nation to feature in Paralympics football. That was 4 years ago in Rio. They made their debut and their continent's debut in this event. You may have just heard the stadium announcer asking for quiet during the game. Really important, because the outfield players, of course, rely on sound to maneuver around the pitch and get hold of and keep the ball. The ball within it has a couple of small bells which, of course, aid our para-athletes in football five-a-side. Driss El Muntaki, the man charged with, along with his players, trying to cause an upset in this Group B opener. Spain and Thailand, the other two nations in Group B. Group A made up of Japan and France, and Brazil and China. Brazil, the reigning champions. The top two in each group will progress to the semi-finals, with the first in each group playing the second in the other. And then alongside a bronze medal match, the final. Silver and gold on the line in that final. But that's some way off for these players, who will not be thinking any further than the opener that we have before us right now. The defensive pairing of Icardi and Padilla. Deldo Garcia is the midfielder for Argentina, and Espinillo, as mentioned, the potent threat in attack. Sneesler of Morocco to be involved in the kick-off alongside 8 Baja, the 2 youngest players in the Morocco starting 5. And immediately Sneesler had a small chance to create an attacking opportunity. Espinillo with his trademark hair dye and his trademark ability to get in a dangerous position in attack. Some time for Burka. Dispossessed by Deldo Garcia. Good strength from the Argentine captain, drawing the foul. We can, in Football 5-a-side, have a double penalty situation for accumulated fouls. So the players need to be careful, because if they commit too many fouls, they will give away a penalty. And the double penalty, a huge threat, of course. Particularly in close matches. The Group A games were not all that close. A 3-0 victory for Brazil, a 4-0 win for Japan. Will this one be a match that is slightly closer, given that Argentina and Morocco are perhaps more closely matched when you look at previous and history? Good work again from Deldo Garcia. Now looking to turn defense into attack. Espinillo, the intended target again. And there is a referee timeout, while Gilly of Morocco is allowed to retie his shoelaces. Each team is allowed a timeout of their own in each half for a minute, which can be vital, really, particularly in a defensive sense, to stem a tide of attack from their opponents. The referee, however, at his or her discretion, allowed to also introduce a timeout. It doesn't have to be for the full minute. Given the hot and humid conditions too, it's likely we'll have a drinks break in each half. 30 degrees Celsius at kick-off. Sneesler, this time getting the better of Deldo Garcia. Having to hold the ball up, though, to wait for options to arrive. Espinillo helping out in a defensive position. Now Icardi, a nice back heel. That was really stylish. Finding again Espinillo. Espinillo with great close control. And he goes for the shot, and that's the opener. Argentina have the first goal in this first match in Group B. And it had to be him, didn't it? The man who found the net 6 times at the most recent Football World Grand Prix. Gets his campaign and his nation's campaign off to a good and early start. He did well to get up after being brought down. Finding the left of Barra. The right of the goal as we look at it. Morocco seeking to respond immediately. Ait Baja unable to keep possession. Sneesler up against the sideboard. Cardi getting back possession for Espinillo and Argentina. It didn't last too long. Espinillo with the shot that was blocked. Espinillo was introduced to blind football at 13 years of age in his hometown of Cordoba. That's the Argentine Cordoba. And it was back in 2013 he made his debut for his country. Burka, the captain for the African champions. On his left side, finding Sneesler. A good turn from Espinillo. Icardi switching to Deldo Garcia. The outfield players are to shout "Voy" when they get possession of the ball to alert the others, not only on their own team, but the opponents too, that they have the ball in their possession. Voy being the Spanish word for go. Go in English would be acceptable too. Sneesler for Morocco. Through the legs of Espinillo. Safely back with the Argentine goalkeeper who clears quickly, Lencina. The goalkeepers are not allowed outside of their area. And that is a really good save from a very dangerous shot from halfway. A really good effort from Ait Baja, one of the younger members of the Moroccan starting five, age 23, Sneesler 22. Ait Baja just taking a moment or two. Ait Baja battling away with Icardi. And back with the goalkeeper. Argentina in control, certainly as far as the scoreline is concerned. A goal up against Morocco, but Morocco are definitely fighting back in the early stages of this Group B match. Padilla getting some possession this time on the side for Argentina. Sneesler, who's having to face the entire Argentine side on his own. It seems Argentina are definitely the more attack-minded if you look at how they are set up when they move forward offensively. Deldo Garcia and Icardi out wide, getting forward as the more attacking fullbacks. Morocco very hesitant to leave any fewer than 2 players at the back, even when going forward. And Argentina have now opted to utilize their timeout in the first period. An opportunity for a drinks break too for them and for Morocco. Argentina was silver medalists at the very first football five-a-side at the Paralympic Games in Athens in 2004. Losing out agonizingly to Brazil in the gold medal match. 0-0, even after extra time in Greece. And just a penalty in it, losing 3-2 to the formidable Brazilians who claimed gold. Since then, Argentina have secured a couple of bronzes in Beijing and Rio 5 years ago, and they finished 4th too in London at the 2012 Paralympic Games. Morocco only taking part in the Paralympic Games in football five-a-side for the 2nd time in their history. The Moroccan options, by the way, replacement-wise. Kamal Bouflam, Saeed El Maselek, Ayoub Hadimi, Abdurazak Hattab, and another option in goal too, if Samir Barra was to have to be replaced in the form of Abdelali Ait Al Hakem. Here go Morocco. Ait Baja dispossessed. Deldo Garcia for Argentina, their captain. Espinilo shoots on his right side, a very good block, an important block from Gili. A fiercely hit effort. Gili getting down on the floor to avert the danger on that moment. Icardi back to Espinilo. Icardi moving away from the left side. Espinilo's in space. Deldo Garcia down on the floor before he could have a go at hitting the target on his right side. Back at the other end now, defending alongside Padilla. A really good battle between Sneasler and Icardi on the Moroccan right. And you can tell that Morocco are edging closer to getting a goal themselves, with Espinilo helping out more in the Argentina half defensively, certainly than the opening 5 minutes when Argentina were the stronger side overall. Morocco have done well since conceding. They've actually performed better in attack. A nice moment between Padilla and Burka. Burka, the captain of Morocco. Burka's one of the older members of the Moroccan side at the age of 35. He began playing football five-a-side in his early 20s. He says Muhammad Ali is his sporting hero. Padilla. Using the sideboard well. Didn't come to much, though, for Deldo Garcia. Morocco restart quickly. Sneesler using the sideboard himself. Sneesler, and he scored! Morocco's persistence pays off. They are now level again against the former silver medalists, Argentina, in men's football five-a-side. Sneesler, the attacker for Morocco, cancelling out the opener from Argentina's attacker Espinilo, dragging himself past 3 Argentines, close control, and then a really wicked shot on his right side to get the better of Lencina, the veteran Argentine goalkeeper and guide. We are level, and deservedly so, you have to say, when it comes to Morocco's performance so far. One of the goal scorers in possession again. And hungry for a second. Sneesler. Forced back towards his own half, but trying his best to keep alive this attacking move. Started by the quick thinking from his goalkeeper, Barra. Espinilo. Tried the sneaky effort with the outside of his right boot. And this is the opportunity for both players to again take on board some liquids. Water or energy drinks in the searing Tokyo heat. And the timeout probably coming at a good time for Argentina. Morocco responded well to conceding and responded well to scoring as well, because they were definitely looking more likely to score again after the equaliser. Martin de Monte, the Argentine coach, delivering instructions to his team and the squad, because they are going to make a change by the looks of it. Nahuel Heredia appears to be primed and ready to come on. And it's Accardi, Federico Accardi, who makes way for Heredia. The 5 attempts in the opening 10 minutes for Argentina's most threatening weapon. Accardi who has come off. He plays for Estudiantes in Argentina, and he actually released a book fairly recently by the name of The Exported Bat. Argentina are known in their own country as Los Murciélagos, which translates into English as the Bats. The first touch just briefly there for Heredia. And he tries to work his way through the Moroccan defensive line. A much closer encounter in this Group B opener compared to the 2 Group A openers. Padilla aiming to find the replacement. Padilla again. Espinilo forced onto his weaker left side. Now at the other end, Sneesler, the other goal scorer. The art to being a really good offensive player in football five-a-side is keeping the ball as close as you can to your feet at all times. As Ike Badger went for goal. Some of the football on show in the Group A match between Brazil and China, from the Brazilians in particular, was just superb to watch in Group A. Espinilo dueling with Burka of Morocco. Not hit as well as he would have liked, Deldo Garcia, the captain from Argentina. And there will be a change now for Morocco. Oncoming, Zayed El Meselek, one of the two youngest players in the Moroccan squad, along with Kamal Bouflem, aged 21. Morocco were defeated in the quarter-finals of the last World Championship in 2018 by China, who were also competing in Tokyo. The additional ball just being kicked out by Espinilo. And here he is with the actual ball. Football five-a-side, very similar to FIFA futsal. Not least with the playing area, the pitch being 40 meters by 20 meters size-wise. And a break again for a change. Argentina making their second sub. They still have 4 more that they can make if they so wish. Brian Pereira, the man to come on, replacing the South American skipper Deldo Garcia. Deldo Garcia, interestingly, one of several players in the Argentina squad, more than happy to list Lionel Messi as their sporting hero. Messi and his teammates on the international front, of course, delivered a Copa America success a few weeks ago, which would have gone down well in Argentina and among the players in blue and white here in Tokyo, competing for a gold of their own. Barra with a very, very pinpoint throw to El Meselek. El Meselek still going for Morocco, who again have switched to a more defensive setup, perhaps to ensure they can get to the interval at least level, and certainly not trailing as they did for the first part of this opening period. Wide and over from Padilla. Froilan Padilla, the only member of the Argentina team who was in a position to not only win the bronze medal in Rio 4 years ago, but play in other Paralympic Games football five-a-side events, and that's because he is 42 years young. Padilla again, drawing the foul from the replacement for Morocco, El Maselek. Padilla described that bronze in Brazil 5 years ago as the best moment in his career as a footballer. It was an interesting football five-a-side event because Iran really caused an upset in getting to the final to take on Brazil. And while they did leave that final with a silver and not the gold, it was only a 1-0 defeat against the very, very good Brazilians, who were obviously playing on home soil too. So while they had the pressure of delivering gold, like Neymar and co in the Olympics, they also had very much the entirety of the stadium support-wise, as we see the opening goal and then the equaliser from Sneesler. A brief break while we have a medical timeout involving Ait Badger, who has been on from the beginning in this encounter. We're fast approaching the final 5 minutes of the opening half. Sneesler to head back on, the goal scorer, and Ait Badger, the man who just went down, coming off, presumably to receive a bit more medical treatment. Pereira. A change for Argentina again. And Deldo Garcia, their captain, will be coming back on as well, replacing Heredia. Wise for both teams to make use of as many of their 6 substitutions allowed per half towards the end of each period, given the hot and humid conditions. Espinillo, who hasn't come off yet, in the box, and he finds the net. A really clean finish from Argentina's marksman. A brace for him in this Group B opener. Puts Argentina back in control against their Moroccan rivals. Kept the ball close to his feet, put on the burners, accelerated through past the Moroccan back line and found the net well. No chance at all for Samir Barra. Sneesler doing well himself. Can he get a second? Espinillo. Still with Argentina. And Pereira. Pereira. Unable to get the ball around Gilly. And the quick restart, just a bit too quick for Morocco's front two. Pereira, Espinilla is there in support. Pereira appearing to fancy going it alone. Deldo Garcia, wisely informed by one of his guides to let the ball go out, and it will be restarted by Lencina in the Argentine goal. Germán Marquez, one of the three guides for Argentina, alongside De Monte, the coach, and Lencina, the goalkeeper. Each team are allowed 3 guides in total. Really important for the game. And its hopeful free-flowing nature alongside the 2 small bells in the ball. Sneasler trying to go back inside. Deldo Garcia using his goalkeeper Lencina. Off the backboards. Espinillo. Now Pereira. Doing well to get around El Maselek. Sneasler helping out at the back for Morocco. Espinillo. Unable to turn away from the Moroccan captain. It's been a really closely fought opening period, this, between Argentina and Morocco in Group B of the Football Five-a-Side event at the Paralympic Games. One more goal perhaps before the interval. Pereira on his right, he goes for goal. This time the save from Barra. Like a few moments ago, Pereira opting to go alone and try and find the net himself, than pass to Espinillo. He almost found the net on this second occasion. Barra having to get down low. Nicolas Veliz to get his first taste of action as the double goal scorer makes way. A chance for him to have an extended break before the second period. I'm sure that's what De Monte, the Argentine coach, is thinking. Though Argentina may well be in charge numerically, they've certainly not been completely dominant in this opening half. Morocco more than having a go against their rivals from South America. El Maselek subbed out too, with Badger back on for Morocco. Pereira. And play has just been stopped as Burka and his Moroccan teammates clearly were aware that one of their players needs to replace his eye shades. Sneasler passing the ball back to Argentina. Pereira. Dispossessed, however. Won back by Deldo Garcia. Moving inside very effectively. Burka under pressure from a couple of those in the famous blue and white. Sneesler helping out again in the defensive area. Still going. Unable to get close enough to feel he can again have a shot at goal. Veliz giving away possession. 8 Baja. Managed to get the shot away on his left. No trouble, however, for Len Sina. Less than a minute to go here at Aomi Urban Sports Park in Tokyo. Football five-a-side, one of 22 sports at the Paralympic Games this year. And these two among the 183 nations taking part at Tokyo 2020. And another change, what will be a final change for Argentina in the first period. Federico Accardi to come back on. And the exported bat replaces Brian Pereira, who got a few minutes in the opening period. Sneesler. And the shout to move forward quickly, because that is the end of the first period. A very close encounter between Argentina and Morocco. 2 goals from Espinillo for Argentina, either side of an effort from Sneesler for Morocco. So at the break, Argentina just in front, only just, winning by 2-1. Argentina back out first for the second period in this opening match in Group B of the football five-a-side event at the Paralympic Games. Argentina shading the first period. 2-1 up. 2-1 up thanks to a couple of goals from Espinilo, Max Espinilo. Morocco just behind, but with 20 minutes to get back among the points in Group B on the opening day of the football five-a-side event. Baja, Burka and Gili to resume for Morocco. Espinilo back on for Argentina. Those 6 subs allowed per half, per team. Very useful at the end of the first period, given the hot temperature in Tokyo. It has now dipped below 30 degrees C, but 30 at kickoff, a very hot beginning to Group B. A much closer match, this, than the openers in Group A. A really big show of intent from Japan, winning 4-0 against France. Brazil 3-0 victors, meanwhile, against China. Japan, the hosts, but also making their debut in football five-a-side. What a way to begin, winning 4-0 against a very strong French side. France were able to win silver at London in 2012. Argentina to kick off, having opted to choose ends in the first period following the coin toss. Oh, a really stylish way to find Espinilo. Battling away with Gili. Deldo Garcia. Now Espinilo on his left side. Burka, the captain for Morocco, averting the danger. Icardi's forced back towards the centre line. Deldo Garcia finding Espinilo almost. Jockeyed out by Burka. Espinilo. Really close control to keep possession. The nutmeg beyond 8 Baja. As stylish as it was, it didn't lead to anything in terms of a goal-scoring opportunity. Great to see, though. Deldo Garcia brought down by the sideboard and drawing the foul. I don't think Morocco can have too many issues with that decision from our Hungarian official. There again we see the nutmeg from Espinilo. Unfortunately unable to finish it off with at least a shot on goal, if not the goal itself. Free kick to Argentina. Morocco only conceding 3 fouls in this match so far. Argentina haven't conceded any. Espinilo. Deldo Garcia potentially able to utilize some space. Out and back, however, to the goalkeeper, Barra. Deldo Garcia seeking Espinilo. And the Chinese assistant official, on that occasion, clattering into the sideboard. Baja. Dispossessed. Espinilo for Argentina. Still going. In the end, though, it's Sneesler, the other goal scorer, looking to really create the first opportunity in attack for Morocco in this second half. Sneesler into the area, which as an outfield player, he is allowed to enter. He is allowed to shoot inside the area too. But the goalkeeper cannot leave the area. Deldo Garcia. Finding Espinilo. Back towards Deldo Garcia. Deldo Garcia was born prematurely 33 years ago, and that led to his impairment visually, with the incubator's light burning his retina. Icardi. Burka, the captain for Morocco, seeing plenty of action, plenty of possession on his right side, this side of the half-time break. Sneesler getting the ball back for the African champions. Is he able to equalize again against Argentina? Or will Espinilo be able to add a bit of daylight between the two sides on the scoreboard? Argentina enjoying just a couple of % extra possession than Morocco in the first period. It was that close beyond the scoreline, which only tells some of the story. Espinilo controlling the ball there with a lot of pace on it from the goalkeeper. Padilla. Dispossessed by Burka. Burka getting by Icardi. Went for the shot. Espinilo. Too much to get by the 3 red shirts. Burka's had a lot of possession, the captain for Morocco, in this second half. The duration of each half was reduced by 5 minutes from Rio and the Paralympic Games in Brazil 5 years ago. It was 25 minutes per half in the Brazilian capital, down to 20 now. And the number of fouls that are conceded in total, leading to a double penalty situation, have been increased too, from 3 to 5. So the rules of this sport, this event at the Paralympic Games, they are tinkered with every so often. It being a fairly new event, really, in the grand scheme of things when it comes to events at the Paralympic Games. The first one in Athens in 2004. Sneesler committing a couple of fouls for Morocco. Taken fairly quickly by Argentina. Padilla forced back. And it is a corner to the team that are trailing. Still a few minutes to go before a mandatory drinks break. Eight Baja evidently feeling the heat as Morocco seek this second equaliser. Sneesler into a crowd of Argentine players. Padilla doing well to stay on his feet. Padilla still going, a vital interception from Gilly. A change now for Argentina, their first of this second period. Nahuel Heredia to re-enter. He got a few minutes in the first period. Deldo Garcia, the captain for Argentina, making way. Even though this event's fairly new at the Paralympic Games, it has been around for almost a century, with early records of football five-a-side for those with visual impairments dating back to the 1920s in Spain, the birthplace of this sport. There were formal championships in the 1980s in Spain, and records of some in South America too, which probably explains why Argentina, Brazil and Spain are all the dominant forces in this event. Morocco, Japan, among the nations looking to break the dominance of not only Brazil, but the dominance beyond the gold medals from the Argentines and the Spaniards. Here's Sneesler for Morocco. Almost through the legs fully of Icardi. And the corner is won at the very least by Zuhair Sneesler. He's only 22, so the youngest player currently on the pitch for Morocco, one of the youngest members of the squad. You feel he has many years ahead of him competing within the football five-a-side stratosphere, not only at the Paralympic Games, but as part of the Morocco team in the African Championship, the World Cup as well. Sneesler having to use his strength, but unable to continue, and he appears to be hurt on the ground. Play goes on though. And eventually the officials have opted for a referee's timeout. Important to note, of course, that the outfield players are unable to get too much of a feeling as to if one of their opponents or their teammates are hurt, and that is why those who are outfield have to rely so much on the guides for certain aspects of the football five-a-side. When it comes to delivering the shots on goal and the crucial defending work, that is all down to the four outfield players. Unfortunately, Sneesler seems okay to continue. Still a very close encounter between these two. The other two teams in Group B, Spain and Thailand. Spain really the favourites to win the group, given that they won the European Championship in 2019. Came second the time before that. It should be a really, really good encounter, Spain-Argentina. Not to say this one hasn't been, actually, between Argentina and Morocco. And after another change for the African side, Espinillo, in a sporting manner, plays the ball back to Morocco's goalkeeper. Barra to Gilly. Burka just knocked down by his teammate Gilly as they both hurried towards the Argentina attack. Once more a change. And Argentina are swapping in a player on this occasion. Marcelo Panizza will get his first taste of Paralympic Games football five-a-side in Tokyo. Panizza, another veteran of this sport at the age of 37. Still a few years off Padilla and Lencina, his goalkeeper. And the relatively young Espinillo at 27, firing wide on that occasion. Strength early on from the replacement, Panizza. Good battle between Heredia and Hadimi. Espinillo having to deal with three Moroccans. Still going. Away by Burka. One of the differences between football at the Paralympic Games and Olympic football is the fact that in Paralympic football five-a-side, there is no offside. Not that that would be too useful for Morocco, who have opted to defend very deep against Argentina. Not to say they haven't attacked, but it has clearly been a strategy to restrict the Argentines to the 2 goals so far and not too many other chances. Espinillo has been very effective in attack when given an opportunity. Argentina and Morocco still have changes that they can make between now and the end of the match. One of the changes in the last few minutes, dispossessed by Argentina, Hadimi. Burka. Now with Heredia. Effective work from 8 Baja. It only went so far, though. And that will be a free kick against Morocco and against El Habib 8 Baja. And before the free kick, there will be a quick break for hydration. Still 2-1 then, with half an hour on the board time-wise. And already you sense, given the quality of Spain away from this field right now, that this group could be really close and interesting, with only 2 teams from Argentina, Morocco, Spain and Thailand progressing to the semi-finals this year. Espinillo, the double goal scorer for Argentina, being subbed out, although I'm quite sure we will see him again before the end of the match. Belize back on again. He came on 2 in the first period. Well, Africa is where later in the year there will be a first ever World Championship for women when it comes to football five-a-side. So who knows, in a few years' time at the next Games in Paris and then beyond that in Los Angeles, we could have women's football five-a-side at the Paralympic Games. Women's football so popular in the United States in particular. So definitely a really positive step with the World Championship in Nigeria in a few months' time. With the clock counting down, we are into the final 10 minutes. And the equipment check regarding El Habib 8 Baja, not fully satisfied. He needs to have 2 of the white patches on before his black eye shade. And once he's done that, we can resume. The trouble is, it's so hot and humid. The sweat just makes those white patches fall off the moment that you remove the eye shades, which most of the players tend to do during the timeouts and the breaks they have for hydration. All of the outfield players must be eligible for B1 class, which is the most severe level of visual impairment. But even then, with varying degrees of that visual impairment, to make it fair, they all do wear the black eye shades. The goalkeepers can be sighted. We seem to have lost the fluidity in this clash in the last few minutes. Not that Argentina will be overly concerned by that, as much as they would love to get another goal just to provide a bit more security. Driss El Montaki, the Moroccan head coach, impressing upon his players the fact that there is still time for them to get back among the points in Group B. The Argentina support staff using those cool blankets to aid the outfield players in the heat of Tokyo. This would be a very significant victory for Argentina. Not only do they need to, of course, just get out of the group, but finishing first and more than likely avoiding Brazil in the semi-finals. Would certainly be no bad thing. That's to assume Brazil will top Group A, but it's not too wild an assumption given that they have won gold in all of the football five-a-side Paralympic Games events since it began in 2004 in Athens. Hadimi and Eight Baja standing beside the ball for Morocco. And the shot on the left side from Hadimi is blocked by the four-man wall of Argentina. With it very quiet now, you can actually hear the bells within the football. It's been very difficult at times during this match with the instructions from the guides and the players, of course, making the noise that they make on the pitch. When they get the ball, they have to shout "Voy." And the more it changes from player to player, the more we hear "Voy" shouted on the pitch. Panizza with close control, unable to find Heredia. Now Gilly. Gilly barging his way forward. Effective strength from the Moroccan. And it appears Hadimi will be subbed off, and Sneesler, the goal scorer for Morocco, back on. What can Zuhair Sneesler do to drag his team back into this game when it comes to the points? Immediate possession, but far away from goal. Superb control from Sneesler. Still Sneesler. Eight Baja. Well watched beyond the line by Panizza, his opposite number. Accardi is back on for the Argentines. Accardi to replace Panizza. Accardi's book is by the name of the Exported Bat. His nickname among his squad members is the Stallion. Blocked by Sneesler. Sneesler dispossessed only momentarily. Really good footwork from the Moroccan striker. And now having to use strength with Heredia aiming to get the ball back for Argentina. And too much on it, that clearance from Burka, the captain for Morocco. Argentina bringing back on their goal scorer, Espinillo. No surprise there. You just sense the frustration of Morocco as they were starting to build some momentum. The fact that the sub-call was made, I mean, they'd have wanted to get back on Espinillo anyway, but tactically it was a good point in the game to stop play and make the change. Here is Espinillo battling away with the captain of Morocco, Burka. Akadi. Heredia's in space on his own on the edge of the box. Akadi still going and goes for goal, shooting wide. Morocco very quick to get an attacking move going themselves, but Sneesler falls down to the ground. Quickly back on, this time by Lencina. Espinillo, the intended target. Too much pace on the forward ball towards Sneesler. Espinillo now. He's way out wide on the edge of the kickboards. Seems to be opening up a bit more again now, this clash in Group B. Sneesler tussling away with Padilla. Burka. Burka still has the ball for Morocco. Padilla for Argentina. And it will be a corner, much to the frustration of Lencina, though he didn't really call it out. As a guide, he could have informed his teammate there. Burka has got himself into the danger area. He's really come to life in a more attacking sense this side of the interval. Sneesler. Sneesler towards the goal. Quickly taken. Heredia forced back. And now with Morocco the possession. Kept him well there. Good control from Sneesler. Dancing around the back line of Akadi and Heredia. Akadi now aiming to convert defense into attack. Espinillo. Heredia is relatively close by as Espinillo battles three Moroccans. The longer this goes on, though, it's more useful to Argentina, given they're leading and the clock is fast ticking down. We're into the final 4 minutes of this Group B clash. Gilly. And that will be a corner for Argentina. Argentina wisely utilising their one timeout in this half.
Time out for Argentina.
Martin de Monte, their coach, perhaps recognizing that their most potent threat, Espinillo, was in need of a little break. But he will, beyond that, also recognize the fact that Morocco are certainly not beaten just yet. There is time for the African champions to work their way back into this game as they did in the first half and to level matters. It's notable that Sneesler has had more support in this half, particularly in the form of his captain, Imed Berka, the 35-year-old skipper of the Moroccans, advancing more and more. Morocco will certainly feel they can still get something out of this fixture. And the draw will equal a point. It's 3 points for a victory in the group stage of this event in Tokyo. Penalties are only used in the elimination stage, so the semi-finals and the final itself. And that final can be settled by penalties, as was the case in the first ever gold medal match for football five-a-side in Athens in 2004, when Brazil sneaked a victory over Argentina, 3-2 on penalties after the game, even after extra time, finished goalless. The Hungarian official just shaking the ball to alert the outfield players as to where possession is right now from the corner. Heredia alongside Espinola. Espinola working his way into the box. Shot blocked. Sneesler now for Morocco. Icardi in a good duel with 8 Baja. Safely watched back to Barra. But back with Argentina, Espinolo. Close control. Espinolo dancing his way through towards the danger area. Icardi. Eight Baja. Losing out just on the edge of halfway. And Espinolo hitting the man, not the ball, for Argentina. Every time the ball is out of play, the clock stops, it ticks down. So just over 2.5 minutes remaining. Will Argentina hang on and claim victory in their first match in Japan? Or can Morocco score again to level this affair? Icardi this time alongside Espinolo. Icardi did well to get by 2 red shirts, but couldn't really get the better of the Moroccan captain, Berka. Berka still has possession, but not all too useful. Morocco need to get it up the other end. That is what Sneesler will try. Sneesler. He was moments away from just having an opening to shoot at goal. He has at least, however, won a corner. It wouldn't be all too surprising to see another change from Argentina in this final 2 minutes, just to break up the last 120 seconds. Sneesler. onto his left side. He's forced by Argentina's back line. Espinolo right at the back, helping out defensively. Burka. And it seemed more of a pass than a shot from the Moroccan skipper. Quickly taken the goal kick by Morocco, by Barra. Baja dispossessed by Akadi. Now Sneasler. Sneasler on his left side. It's a really good shot on goal. Forcing movement from Lensina. He did well to find the angle, but you sense that could be the last opportunity for Morocco to test Dario Lensina, to force him to concede for the second time. And as expected, a change perhaps about to be made by Argentina. Or maybe not quite yet. Baja for Morocco. Burka dispossessed by Espinilo, who was just getting ready to pull the trigger. Gilly under some pressure. And the free kick has been awarded. Just over 10 seconds to go between Argentina and Morocco. They have to make this count, as that Argentine change is now made. Heredia subbed off. Feldo Garcia, the Argentina captain, back on to finish the match. And there's been no player that's committed more than 3 fouls, so we're not really in any danger of a double penalty before the end of this encounter. And as you can hear, the Argentines surprised and unhappy with the decision to award a corner. Morocco with this one final chance to nick an equaliser in their first match in Tokyo. Sneasler. Espinilo helping out in defence. And now charging forward in attack. Espinilo, can he score again? Too much on it, and there goes the whistle. Argentina's campaign is off to a winning start. A close encounter with Morocco, who equalised once in the first half, but the 2 goals from Max Espinilo, enough to seal all 3 points in what will be a very close, very interesting Group B in Tokyo. Sneasler, the goal scorer for Morocco. A spirited display from the African champions. One of South America's finest, however, making it through in the end, winning by 2-1 to secure a very important early 3 points.
like the players leave the field. We thank our officials and all our volunteers for their work doing so far in the Paralympic Games. Coming up, the final match on day one, on side, at 7:30, Spain will play Thailand.
以上をもちまして本日の第3試合が終了となりました。ボランティアの皆さん、オフィシャルの皆さん、ご協力ありがとうございました。次の試合の準備がありますので、チームの皆様からご入場をお願いします。
Results are on the scoreboard there from matches early today. Japan, host nation, kicking off with a 4-0 victory over France, and Brazil 3-0 over China. Also matches include Argentina 2, Morocco 1.
So 2-1, and in terms of possession, bang on even, 50% each, a really close match between Argentina and Morocco in Group B. Very few fouls committed as well by either side. Argentina with the 3 points early doors in Group B, and the goal difference of a slender +1. Spain and Thailand still to play in their opening clash in this group. The top two go through, remember, to the semi-finals. First in Group B, meeting second in Group A. So as darkness sets in around Tokyo and Aomi Urban Sports Park, this was a very tense and close Group B opener between Argentina and Morocco. The Argentines winning in the end by 2-1, thanks to a brace from Max Espinolo, their most potent threat in attack. And in between his 2 strikes in the first half, a goal to equalise from the main attacker for Morocco, Zouheir Sneesler. He couldn't do it a second time, though. Morocco couldn't. Argentina winning out in the end 2-1 to seal a very crucial 3 points and to come through a very good battle with Morocco in Tokyo.